Data doesn't lie, your go-to for the science behind the art of parenting.
Hi folks, welcome to this week's video. This week we're talking about the care of the newborn and the immediate care of the newborn in the delivery room. And I'm going to break it down into a few parts, probably 2 or 3, depending on how much I talk. So this would be part 1. We're just going to talk about heat loss, keeping babies warm and why. So stick with me and let's dig right in. Okay, so some background. Why is it important to keep babies warm before we dig into how and what and the ways in which we keep babies warm? So first of all, hypothermia, which is being cold or temperatures below where we need them to be, is defined as a temperature we check in the baby's armpit that is less than 36.3 degrees Celsius. And they can be mild, it can be moderate, it can be severe, depending on how low it goes, all the way down to probably that's like 28 or so. And we don't want babies cold because it can produce cold stress. And cold stress pretty much just means the baby's metabolisms, metabolic pathways don't function the way they're supposed to. So breathing becomes an issue, sugar control becomes an issue, acidosis, acid production in the body becomes an issue. That makes babies sick. So we want to prevent that from happening. So why are babies so prone to getting cold when they're born? For a number of reasons. One, they have a large surface area compared to their body mass ratio. They have a higher fluid content than adults do. They have less subcutaneous fat underneath their skin at the time that they're born compared to adults. And they have a less mature or an underdeveloped thermoregulation, meaning they don't shiver as well as we do to kind of hold a layer of heat above their skin. So they can't do that, so they get more cold. So babies are more prone to getting cold because of those reasons. The ways in which they can get cold are a number of them. There is conduction, meaning they lose heat from their body to a colder surface that they are in contact with. Say you put them on a cold table. They lose heat by evaporation. They're born wet. Their amniotic fluid is around them. And as that amniotic fluid dries, in the drying process, it takes some heat with it. They lose heat via convection, meaning a cooler draft of wind or air or door opening and closing quickly will cause the movement of that air will take heat off their body from them too. And lastly, they lose heat via radiation. So they are losing heat through a surface in which they are not in contact with. So a window that is connected to a window outside, for example, and it's cold outside, babies can lose heat through that. So those are the many ways in which babies can lose heat. So now knowing this as a background, the things we do in the delivery room are geared towards accommodating for this. So the first thing is, when we know that a mom is about to deliver, whether it's a vaginal or C-section, we tend to keep that room warmer. We keep it about 25 degrees. So it's pretty warm in there, you will notice. And that's because we don't want the baby's temperature to be so different, vastly different from the room in which they're born. They're not losing as much heat. As soon as they're born, if there are no issues with breathing or heartbeat or anything like that, we put them on mom's chest. Again, mom's body is a warm surface that they will be in contact with, so they're not losing heat with that. Plus, it's also developmentally appropriate for them. We dry them to sort of wipe off the amniotic fluid in addition to stimulating, but we're really wiping off that amniotic fluid. So they're dry and they're not losing heat via evaporation. And we cover them with a blanket so that there's no convection or draft that they're feeling. We cover their heads as well, because their heads are big, right? And there's barely any hair on it. So they need a hat on it to prevent any heat loss from there. So that's the first thing we do in the delivery room around babies and heat. Next week, we will be talking about the immediate assessment of the newborn and what the APGARs means. So I'll see you guys next week. Share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you next week.